America's only Irish station, radioirish.com, that's what you're listening to. Seán McCarthy here, and we're very excited to be heading off to see the new comedy movie The Guard, which is written and directed by Irish writer John Michael McDonagh and stars Brendan Gleeson, Don Cheadle, Liam Cunningham, David Wilmot, Rory Keenan, Mark Strong, Fionnuala Flanagan, Dominique McElligott, Sarah Green and Katrina Cass. Set amidst breathtaking landscapes of Connemara in the west of Ireland, The Guard is a comedic fish-out-of-water tale of murder, blackmail, drug trafficking and rural police corruption. Two policemen must join forces to take on an international drug-smuggling gang, one an unorthodox Irish policeman and the other a straight-laced FBI agent. Sergeant Gerry Boyle, played by the great Irish actor Brendan Gleeson, is an eccentric small-town cop with a confrontational and crass personality and a subversive sense of humour. A long-time policeman in County Galway, Boyle is a maverick with his own moral code. He has seen enough of the world to know there isn't much to it, and has had plenty of time to think about it. When a fellow police officer disappears and Boyle's small town becomes key to a large drug trafficking investigation, he is forced to at least feign interest when dealing with the humorless FBI agent Wendell Everett, played by the great Don Cheadle, who is assigned to the case. Left to run his territory to his liking for many years, the guard, aka Gerry Boyle, is not at all impressed when the FBI comes to town. The Guard opens at select theatres, and you can just click the Guard icon or the picture of Brendan Gleeson himself right here at radioirish.com, and it'll take you directly to the official movie website, theguardmovie.com, where you can see at what cinema near you The Guard is screening. www.theguardmovie.com. With an original music score and some kick-ass music from a host of artists, including Nerd, Bobby Gentry, Chet Baker, John Denver. There's even that old favourite, Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, performed by Middle of the Road. Do you remember that?
Where's your mama gone? Where's your mama gone?
Oh God, I loved that one. Remember that one? Brings back great memories of my radio days in Dublin back in the late 70s and early 80s when I worked on various radio stations in Dublin. And I used to play that song, Middle of the Road. Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep. Well, that's in there too. The Guard is an official selection at the Sundance, Berlin, Tribeca and Los Angeles Film Festivals 2011 and is the winner of the Audience Award for Best Irish Feature at this year's Galway Film Fleadh, which is the icing on the cake really for the movie, considering the story itself is set in and around Galway and stunning Connemara in the west of Ireland. And sure, if the locals are loving the movie as they are, then it's a huge compliment to the writer and filmmakers and cast, isn't it really? From Radio Irish here in New York, it's 3 thumbs up for The Guard. 3 thumbs up! And we're delighted now to be speaking with star of The Guard, Brendan Gleeson, who joins us here on Radio Irish. How are you, Brendan?
I'm very well, thanks, Sean.
So tell me, how did you become involved in this film, Brendan?
Well, I met John at the Golden Globes when his brother Martin and myself were there for in Bruges, and that's the first time I met John McDonagh. I kind of knew of him before that, and so anyway, later he did the script. The script was sent out to me, and once I read it, that was it. It was I knew this was kind of a special deal.
Something you wanted to do right away.
Oh, totally, yeah. And so it was a question then of, at what point would it get financed and how soon. I mean, John was very gung-ho about it happening in that autumn. I had hoped to make a film that autumn, which actually was delayed. And so it was financed within that time. I think it was about 8 months from the time he wrote the script to the time we were on set, which is almost unheard of. I think it's just the quality of the script was so good that people recognised it immediately, and off we went.
Now, you play Sergeant Gerry Boyle in The Guard, an eccentric small-town cop with a confrontational and crass personality. What makes Gerry Boyle the way he is, Brendan? This maverick with his own moral code. What makes Boyle tick?
Well, I think he's quite a lonely man, to be honest. I think, has certainly an integrity that has been some... Well, he has seen it compromised in others, and I think he's stuck in a rut, basically. He's very bored. He watches a lot of films, he reads a lot of books, but he's only one friend, really, and that's his mother. And so he doesn't sweat the small stuff. He's inclined to, if he pops a little tab of acid if he wants to see what it's like, or he engages a couple of prostitutes if he wants to have some female company, and he doesn't sweat the small stuff at all. But when it comes down to sort of real badness and murder and mayhem, he's prepared to stand up to it. I kind of think he's based a little bit on the old Western type maverick who tries to avoid the catastrophe for as long as possible, but in the end is kind of hoping for his chance to show his mettle.
All right, now you end up reluctantly having to join forces with Don Cheadle's character Wendell Everett, because basically the whole police force around you is knee-deep in corruption, and Wendell Everett is the only one you can ultimately trust. Is this decision of his a reflection of Boyle's moral code kicking in again, Brendan?
Well, I think that he's very confrontational. He says the most disastrous things to people to ruffle their feathers, and I think it's a ploy of his to appear to be ignorant and crass and dumb. A ploy that's used quite a lot in the country, I believe, by people who want others to underestimate them. And so he antagonises people and sees what they're made of, and Don Cheadle's character is the only one really who stands up to him and actually has a similar integrity. And I think Boyle really has been on his life looking for somebody to challenge him in that way and to actually stand up to him. And when that happens, he rises to the challenge himself.
All right. Well, now, is this the first time yourself and Don Cheadle have worked together? And how did you get on the set and all that?
It was my first time working, yeah. We met initially just in Los Angeles with John. We managed to contrive a way of meeting. We were all there doing different things. And prior to shooting, we had one afternoon, I think, where we read through the script. And, I mean, it had been so well written. We both got it. Don got it as well. He got the humour of it. And it was really a question of how we'd work together, and within 30 seconds we knew it was going to be cool. Like I admired him greatly anyway. I love his work, and sometimes that you can really like people's work, but not the way they work. The way they work maybe will be different to yours, but with us it was just absolutely like falling off a log. He's really intelligent. He's really smart. He kind of, he's been I suppose classified as a kind of a straight man in this, and up to a point he is, but it's the quality of the way he pulls off the straight man thing. There's a real intelligence, and he's a fantastic sense of humour, so we got on like a house on fire.
Great. Now, have you heard any reaction from An Garda Síochána to the film, and especially your portrayal of one of their own, so to speak? Huh?
Well, we screened it to 40 guards at home before it opened, and basically they fell around the place laughing. So yeah. So I mean, there's a scene where at the end where Boyle is kind of tooled up with an AK-47 and this kind of thing, and I think that was the scene where they absolutely split themselves. It'd make you wonder, did they ever see themselves in that light at all? But I honestly didn't. I mean, I used to joke that I was going to make sure I was travelling at all times within the speed limit, but I don't think we're short of a sense of humour at home, and I don't think the guards are short of a sense of humour. So I think they're having a ball.
Now, talk to me a bit about John Michael McDonagh, who wrote The Guard, and who also makes his directorial debut here, Brendan. As an actor, how has it been working with John?
It's been really good. He is the first time he did a short. I mean, I think about 8 or 9 years ago, and he's a very meticulous writer. So, as a director, he knew what he wanted to achieve. He had a real calm about him on the set. He's very film savvy. He's encyclopedic, really, in terms of his knowledge of film. So he just knows the medium. and it was. I mean, I was surprised at how efficient it was. He was very, very fast. We got through 5 pages a day, which doesn't seem a lot, but it's you know, a lot of the bigger films you'd be doing maybe 2, 3, you know, and we were doing on a tiny budget. We were doing 5, so the schedule was really tight, and he just kept it moving. But we never felt rushed. We always had enough time. Larry Smith was the photographer, and he was quick, but you know, he'd worked with Kubrick and all that kind of stuff. Was really atmospheric. So it felt as if all that stuff was, you know, they were in charge and they knew what they were doing, and it was excuse me, it's just up to us then to concentrate on performances and just you know, keep it real. But it was great. I mean, I'm hoping to work with him again pretty soon. With John, he's written a script called Calvary, which we kind of devised in a way ourselves, just talking about the priesthood and how it has changed over the years in terms of its perception at home. So we're trying to, we have this, John has written this great script about a good priest, you know, in a community that used to revere and now actually reviles him, you know, and hopefully we'll get that made next year.
Well, that sounds intriguing. Now, tell me, Brendan, do you think all people can be fascinating in one way or another if we could only unveil what's really going on in someone's life?
Yes, I do. I mean, Paddy Kavanagh used to talk a lot about, you know, the ordinary, the extraordinariness of the ordinary. And I think for me, it's always, art really is a way of making people feel less alone. And that when you can find commonality of experience and show that there is commonality of experience in some way, you know, it binds people together. But also there is the individuality that's crucial to everything. And everybody's experience of everything is different. I mean, I've got 3 brothers, for example. And when we try to recall things that happened in our childhood, we were all there at the same time, and we all have completely different views, perceptions of how things happened and how things went on. So I think everybody's view of the world has to be individual. And so, yeah, I do think people are endlessly fascinating.
Tell me, what makes a great actor, Brendan?
I think, I suppose transportation, in terms of the ability to immerse themselves in whoever they're portraying. You know, John Hurt had a phrase about accent, that unless the accent is part of your DNA, then it shouldn't really be imposed. So that an actor has to, I think, just transform himself into who the character he's playing. And I think you know the difference when you forget, for example, that somebody is actually in a role. It's that suspension of you know, suspicion or disbelief when you don't no light is left in. I think that's what it is. It's obviously you're looking for truth, and you won't achieve that without truth. So it's that ability to morph into somebody else, and it's not. I mean, not many people can achieve it really. It's that, but that's what the aim would be. That you forget the actor totally.
Now, there's a wealth of artistry within your own family, Brendan. You're an actor yourself, of course, and you also play the fiddle. Your brother Barry Gleeson is a well-known traditional singer, and your 2 sons, Donal and Brian, are also actors, with Donal playing Bill Weasley in the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows films, and in which you play the character Alistair Mad-Eye Moody. Talk to me, Brendan, about where all this talent comes from. Did your parents encourage you in drama and singing and music when you were young? I believe your ma loved the theatre.
Yeah, my mum was, she was a theatre goer. Not of any, you know, she just loved it. We found, you know, programmes going back to the Abbey in the 60s and all the rest, and she had little notes, and there were always positive notes. She wasn't a critic. She'd always have superb beside, I don't know, John Kavanagh's name or something like that. So every month, I think, herself and her school friends used to go to the theatre. So that was, I think, if that was where certainly I got my love of it. From just listening to her, she would always try and support if there was a local, whatever, dramatic society or something doing something. She wouldn't go in herself, but she'd always be the first to buy tickets even if she couldn't go. So she did have an artistic bent. She'd sketch things out. She always had a sort of a creative side to her. And I think, ultimately, I think it's down to her, really. On my father's side, my father was from Tip, and it's funny, there were there were people, singers there as well, and there was a lot of creativity. My cousin Pat, I remember, was part of a dramatic society, so it was around, but we didn't have a professionally theatrical family or anything like that. It's just that was kind of banging around in the family in various places.
Well, I thought of you as a teacher, Brendan, because you were a teacher once.
That's right.
And I wondered, would you ever have leanings to direct a film yourself someday, seeing as you enjoyed teaching and the two professions are so similar in many ways? Does directing interest you?
Well, I'm hoping to direct. I've written an adaptation of A Swim Two Birds, the Flann O'Brien book, which is a mad book, and I've been trying to. I got the rights for it about 7 years ago, and so I've been trying to kind of put together a script since. I've got a great cast of people, a whole plethora of kind of the great Irish actors that are out there. Gabriel Byrne's going to be there, and Colin Farrell, and Michael Fassbender, and Cillian Murphy, and all these guys all want to be part of it. So that's what I'm hoping to do next spring, is to bring that to the screen. So it's a big challenge, but I think we're finally there now. And I'm really very happy with the script. I think it is what it is. It's its own entity. It's not just some sort of a translation of the book. And yeah, I guess it is. I mean, there is a certain connection between teaching and directing. I think there's also a certain connection between teaching and acting, but because I think you're trying to do fundamentally the same job. You have to keep it kind of interesting, and you're to impart some sort of truth and give some sort of bring some sort of a joy and development to people. So yeah, we'll see how good a teacher I am when I get to direct the movie.
We saw you there at College Green when Barack Obama came to town, raising the country's spirits and addressing the youth of Ireland. What makes you do that, Brendan? Step out on a limb like that. Why do you encourage Ireland's youth, Brendan?
Well, fundamentally I have 4 children, and I think they're not children anymore, they're young men. And I think once you bring kids into the world, you have responsibility to stay optimistic about what's going to happen, even if all the evidence is to the contrary. I think, I've come up with a notion over the last couple of years that optimism as a parent is not an option, it's a duty, because you can't bring people to the world and then abandon them to it. It doesn't seem to me to have any fairness. So, when you see that amount, we've gone through a time of betrayal at home, and all the smart alecks ran away with all the money and ran away with our children's money. And I was sickened by it and angry about it, and I didn't know where I could find inspiration at home for a while. But I knew it was my duty to find it somewhere, because, as I say, you can't abandon hope, or that you're abandoning your children, and I'm not prepared to do that. And I actually do think that we've turned a corner. I absolutely believe it, and that at least we're starting to get some honesty and know what we're facing. And once you can do that, you can achieve anything.
The great Irish actor Brendan Gleeson, here on Radio Irish, his new comedy movie, The Guard, which is now screening. And you can check it out there by clicking the Guard logo right here on the front page of radioirish.com. A side-splitting romp altogether, I can tell you, and we certainly all need a bit of a giggle at the moment, what with all the bloody depression. So go have yourselves a good time at The Guard, one of the funniest Irish movies ever made. America's only Irish station, radioirish.com.